Hey everyone, welcome back to Oneg Shabbat. Today we'll be dealing Bezrat Hashem with something that comes up from Parashat Vayechi. In Parashat Vayechi, we see Yaakov coming down, meeting his son, meeting his grandsons, and we see part of when he blesses his grandsons, what he does is something very surprising. V'yishlach Yisrael et yamino vayashet al rosh Ephraim vehu hatzair be'etzemolo al rosh Menashe sikel et yadav ki Menashe habechor. That's what we read in Perek Memchet, Pasuk Yudaled. We see that Menashe who was the Bechor, was actually put down in front of Ephraim. Ephraim was chosen to be the more superior one. Now this seems to be something, first of all, very surprising as far as Yaakov. And we ask ourselves, has Yaakov not learned from his mistakes? Has Yaakov not learned from the fact that he preferred Yosef and this whole story happened? Why would Yaakov do such a thing? But when we look at it in a broader perspective, we see that this motive is saying that we see through a lot of Sefer Bereshit, and more through a lot of Sefer Bereshit, through a lot of Tanach as well. The motive of the fact that the Bechor is rejected. We see, for instance, from the beginning, from Cain and Hevel, Cain is the Bechor, Cain is rejected, his mincha is rejected, even though we're not sure why. The Tanach doesn't give a clear answer as to why it was rejected, but we see his the younger brother Hevel being chosen over him. The same thing we see again in Avraham. With Avraham was not the eldest, and Avraham was chosen. He does the same with his sons. Ishmael, the older one, is not chosen, but rather the one who's chosen instead is Yitzchak, also with Yitzchak himself. He does it with his son. It sounds a little more complex of a story there. But Basof Lema'aseh, the one who continues the Brit, the one who continues the covenant with Hashem, is Yaakov and not his elder brother Esav. After that, we see it once again with Yaakov, as we mentioned, who prefers, Reuven is taken down. And last week we spoke about why Yehuda was a superior one, and Yosef also gets some of the Bechorah. The same thing we see afterwards in another episode, for instance, in Sefer Shmuel. In Sefer Shmuel, after Shaul sins and the Melucha is taken away from him, we see that Shmuel is sent to go and find the new king. So he comes to the house of Ishai Bet Halachmi in Perek Tedzayin in Shmuel Aleph, Veike bevoam vayaret Eliyav veyomer ach neged Hashem meshicho. He sees Eliyav, the eldest, and he thinks that he's the one who's going to be the melech. But Hashem says, no, don't look at him. Ki lo asher ireh ha'adam ki adam ireh la'einayim ve'Hashem ireh la'levav. He brings all his other sons, but Basof, the youngest son, that wasn't even there, that no one even thought of the option of being king, is the one that is chosen to be king. So we see Tanach here choosing every time the Bechor is the one who is not chosen. Tanach chooses to take the Bechor and to push him aside for his younger brother. Now, why is it so surprising? Because when we look at the laws of the Tanach, we see that Tanach seems to say the exact opposite. In Sefer Devarim, in the beginning of Parashat Ki Tetzeh, we learn that if a man has two wives and the eldest son belongs to the wife that he does not like, the Senu'ah, it's to the hated ones, he is not allowed to take the Bechorah away from him. You're not to do that. The eldest son is the one who deserves twice as much. What the Tanach is trying to tell us is not to do these things that the Tanach itself does. Sefer Bereshit is full of the Bechor being pushed away. The Tanach tells us as law, do not do that. So what's going on here? Are we pro-Bechorot? Are we not pro-Bechorot? I'd like to add one more thing to the mix. The final Makkah of Mitzrayim is Makat Bechorot. Makat Bechorot also is the only Makkah which you know about ahead of time. Even before Moshe comes back to Mitzrayim, he's told that because the Mitzrim are taking advantage of Bnei Bechori Israel, so once again we see the Bechorot of Mitzrayim being smitten. What is this trying to tell us? There seems to be this entire war against the Bechor, and then the private person is told to do something different. How can we solve this contradiction, and what is this coming to teach us? So let's start with the idea that we saw in Sefer Bereshit, that we saw in David, and we saw also in Parashat, in Makat Bechorot. The idea that the Tanakh, I think, is trying to tell us is that rulership doesn't come just with blood. Not because you are born first, then you earned your role, then you've earned the role of leadership. No, in order to be a leader, you have to have earned it. It comes to see the Bechira over the Bechorah. He's the Bechor, Shkoich, he was born first. That doesn't mean he is the right person to be the leader of the family. Doesn't mean he's the right person to be the leader of Am Yisrael. The person who deserves it most has based on his traits, based on the one who has done something. That's what it is to deserve it. Yitzchak doesn't only earn it because he's the son of Abraham. We see him earning it because of his midot. We see Yaakov spending his entire life earning the bracha. We see Yosef earning his brachot as well to make his dreams come true. And we see David again being the right person to lead Am Yisrael. So the Bechira comes on top of the Bechorah. That's what it comes to show us, that the person who is chosen to lead Am Yisrael, the person who is most righteous for it, who's the most right for the job, and that's what's important. The problem is that we cannot do this on an everyday, day-to-day basis in our personal life. We can't do that. We have Hashem who is able to choose to tell him he's this. We have Nevi'im who are able to choose. Abraham with his nevuah, Yitzchak with his nevuah, they are able to choose. The private person can't do that. With a private person worried that what's going to be his main motive is his love for his wife and his hate for the other wife. Habechol will be the daughter of the son of the hated wife, and therefore he won't be chosen. Which means, on the one hand, the Torah is trying to hold two things here together. On the other hand, we're trying to prevent the idea that just because I'm born first and I get everything, and that's what Sefer Bereshit comes to teach us. But together with that, as far as the law, as far as the private people, we can't have everyone making their own decisions with this, because their decisions we're worried will be wrong. And to decide that someone is a bechor or not a bechor is something extremely significant, which is not right to leave to every single person to decide on his own. We could get to very, very bad things from that, into terrible blood wars between families. And therefore the Torah says, as a rule of thumb, go with the bechor. The bechor is the one who reshit ono lo mishpat bechora. But together with that, remember Sefer Bereshit. Remember the fact that the bechor is not something that's given. Remember the bechorot, all these bechorot over all these generations that have been pushed aside to show us the power of the bechira. Remember Makot Mitzrayim. Remember Makat Bechorot. Hashem goes there against the idea of the bechora. So Vayechi, in a beautiful paper that he writes in the Sefer Zman Cherutenu, essays about Pesach, he writes about the theological war that's going on here between the idea of Bechora of Am Yisrael, the idea of responsibility for the family, versus the idea of just royal blood that we see in the Bechora, the idea of a patriarchal family that's run completely by the father and the eldest brother. Just because he's born first means that he can do whatever he wants. The Torah wants to fight that. The Torah does not believe in that. But together with that, Torah realizes that if we leave this open for every person to decide, what's going to come into his decision isn't just is he a better person, not a better person, but also his own personal things. And therefore, the Torah says as a rule, Ki hu reshit ono lo mishpat bechora, keep it that way. But together with that, in the back of your mind, remember the koach of the bechira. Remember the fact that the Torah wants the bechira over the bechora, and that is the more important thing. Shabbat shalom, everyone.